presented by NollywoodTrend.com, the untold story of Igbo endurance.
Henry Kissinger called the Igbos the wandering Jews of West Africa.
Even the Jewish rabbinate of the Obadiah Alliance officially recognized the Igbos as descendants of the ancient Israelites.
They also confirmed that these Israelites were well known by Jewish authorities in the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Lithuania, and Suriname.
The Obadiah Alliance confirmed that Igbo Israelite origins were well known during the Songhai Empire.
Before the slave trade even began.
From ancient Hebrews.
In a 1969 memorandum to President Nixon, Henry Kissinger called the Igbos the wandering Jews of West Africa.
Even the Jewish rabbinate of the Obadiah Alliance officially recognized the Igbos as descendants of the ancient Israelites.
They also confirmed that these Israelites were well known by Jewish authorities in the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Lithuania, and Suriname.
The Obadiah Alliance confirmed that Igbo Israelite origins were well known during the Songhai Empire.
Before the slave trade even began.
The Igbos carry the E1B1AY haplotype, same as most black men in the West Indies and North Central and South America.
Slave ship manifestos were full of this ancient Hebrew people.
Discover the truth. Read hidden facts about black Americans before 16.
Catholic bishop suggests using the black Jews for slavery.
The mass depopulation of the Americas was his main excuse. There was no one else left to enslave.
Before his death in 1566, the bishop recorded that at least 54 million people in the Americas had been deleted.
He even admitted that before the depopulation, there were more people in the Americas than in the rest of the world combined.
On the island of Haiti alone, 3 million were deleted, leaving only 300 people alive. There were no more people. That was the Catholic bishop's main excuse for choosing the black Jews for slavery.
Discover the truth. Read hidden facts about black Americans before 1619. Available now in a mini ebook.
All of the old documents are saying that black Jews were specifically targeted for slavery, approved by the royal family.
Why would a Catholic bishop suggest using the black Jews for slavery?
The mass
Welcome to Nollywood Trend, your premier destination for the heart and soul of African cinema. Here we celebrate the vibrant tapestry of stories, the dazzling glamour, and the undeniable spirit that defines Nollywood. From the bustling streets of Lagos to the global stage, we bring you closer to the stars, the creators, and the magic behind the camera. Our platform is more than just news. It's a tribute to the artistry, the passion, and the cultural phenomenon that has captivated audiences worldwide. We delve into the trends that shape the industry, from groundbreaking fashion to innovative filmmaking techniques. We honor the legends who paved the way and champion the new voices writing the next chapter. This is a celebration of heritage, a showcase of talent, and an invitation to experience the power of Nigerian storytelling. Join us as we explore the elegance, the drama, and the ever-evolving world of Nollywood. This is Nollywood Trend.
In a world where history is woven with stories of resilience and tragedy, I invite you to journey with me through the rich tapestry of the Igbo people's legacy and their deep connection to Black America, Black Americans, and whose ancient homeland in the heart of West Africa was shaped by forces both external and internal. The Igbo, known for their excellence in trade, creativity, and communal living, have contributed enormously to the cultural and genetic heritage of Black America. Over centuries, as the tides of history brought them into contact with European traders and powerful empires, their identity was both challenged and defined by events far beyond their control. Through a series of complex historical developments, one prominent factor stands out: the role of religious expansion, particularly that of Islam, in driving the tragic reality of enslavement for the Igbo people. As we traverse these historical moments, we encounter both hope and profound sorrow. The Igbo were not passive subjects in the grand narrative of the slave trade. Rather, they were a resilient community with deep-rooted traditions and a keen sense of self. Their connection to Black America is not merely a genetic or statistical link, but an enduring identity embedded in the cultural memory of both continents. In this account, we explore not only the statistics and documented data, but also the lived experience and oral traditions passed from generation to generation. Here, the influence of powerful Islamic empires, led by figures such as Usman dan Fodio, intersects with the tragic realities of the transatlantic slave trade. This is a story of how external religious ambitions and internal dynamics combine to leave deep, indelible marks on the Igbo heartland, marks that continue to resonate in the cultural fabric of modern Black America. Walking through the corridors of time, it becomes clear that the Igbo people have forged an extraordinary bond with what we now know as Black America. Historical records and genetic studies reveal that a significant portion of Black American ancestry can be traced back to the region around the Bight of Biafra, a vibrant and culturally rich area in what is today southeastern Nigeria. Researchers have noted that many Black Americans carry Igbo heritage, with some estimates suggesting up to 60% of individuals may have at least one Igbo ancestor. While mainstream narratives sometimes emphasize a more generalized West African origin, the story of the Igbo is distinctive and compelling. Their traditions, language, and way of life have survived centuries of turmoil and displacement, echoing in music, food, and family values that persist in Black American communities. In the early days of European colonization, the Igbo homeland became a hub for the transatlantic slave trade. Large numbers of Igbo individuals were taken from their communities, often from regions where their ancestors had long thrived through robust trade networks and resilient community governance. As these enslaved people arrived on American shores, they carried with them stories, traditions, and a spirit of resilience that would form the backbone of Black American culture. This connection is not just a matter of genetic heritage, it is a testament to the enduring spirit of a people who maintained their identity despite unimaginable adversity. Over generations, the cultural imprints of the Igbo have merged with the experiences of Black Americans, creating a legacy that is both diverse and deeply rooted in history. This rich tapestry is interwoven with tales of bravery, resistance, and an unyielding will to survive, reflecting the very essence of what it means to be Igbo in a world forever changed by the forces of history. It is important to challenge some of the prevailing narratives that have often overlooked the true forces behind the enslavement of the Igbo people. Many accounts of slavery tend to focus on abstract economic theories, or assign blame in ways that fail to honor the lived experiences of the victims. The reality, however, is that the Igbo were caught in a confluence of overwhelming external pressures that left them vulnerable to systematic and brutal exploitation. Among these external pressures, the expansion of powerful Islamic empires played a critical role in intensifying the conditions that led to their enslavement, long before the height of European involvement in the slave trade. Islamic expansion was reshaping the socio-political landscape of West Africa. As Islam spread throughout the region, well-organized states emerged that sought to dominate and control vital trade networks. Among these, the movement led by Usman dan Fodio is particularly significant. His jihad, which began around 1804, was not simply a religious call, it was a vast political and social upheaval. The Islamic states that emerged from this period established systems in which conversion to Islam was intertwined with the acquisition of power, and those who remained non-Muslim were often seen as legitimate targets for enslavement. For the Igbo, who steadfastly held on to their traditional beliefs and decentralized ways of governance, this period marked a turning point. Their refusal to convert and the inability of the Islamic empires to subjugate their loosely organized communities left them exposed and, tragically, made them prime targets in an era where non-Muslims were systematically captured and sold. In this narrative, it is critical to understand that the Igbo were not to blame for their fate. They were caught in a historical moment where religious ambition and the mechanics of power created a vicious cycle of exploitation and violence. The scars left by these events, in the form of unrelenting slave raids and widespread displacement, are etched into the collective memory of the Igbo and reverberate in the fabric of Black American history. As we delve further into this historical tapestry, we arrive at a pivotal turning point, defined by the rise of Islamic power in Nigeria. Usman Dan Fodio's jihad, launched in the early 19th century, marked the beginning of a sweeping reform movement across northern Nigeria that sought to purify and expand Islam. This movement was rooted in a desire to eradicate practices that were viewed as corrupt, blending Islamic principles with local traditions in ways deemed unacceptable. However, what began as a religious reform evolved rapidly into a transformative political and social force. The new Islamic states, under Dan Fodio's leadership, established the mighty Sokoto Caliphate, a vast empire that spanned northern Nigeria and extended its influence into neighboring regions. Under the Caliphate's rule, Islamic law became the cornerstone of governance, and the systematic capture of non-Muslim populations became legitimized as a critical element of establishing and maintaining power. For the Igbo, who resided in the lush, ecologically distinct southeastern corridors of West Africa, this period introduced a marked contrast between cultures. Their intricate and community-based systems of governance, where decisions were made collectively and individuality was celebrated, stood in stark opposition to the centralized, hierarchical structures of the emerging Islamic states. While northern societies adapted to a model of absolute authority complemented by a strong economic engine, the Igbo clung to traditions that prized flexibility, communal bonds, and self-governance. This very decentralization, which was a source of cultural strength and creativity, inadvertently made them more vulnerable. The lack of a centralized ruler or kingdom meant that they could not present a unified front against the coordinated slave raids that raged from the north. Neighboring groups aligned with the expanding Islamic powers recognized this vulnerability. Historical records describe how well-organized raiding parties, often composed of warriors inspired and sanctioned by the new order, descended upon Igbo communities. The result was a series of violent incursions that not only claimed lives but also irreversibly shattered communities. This convergence of religious ambition and external economic interests resulted in the Igbo being targeted over and over again, leaving lasting scars on their people and culture. As the narrative unfolds further, it becomes impossible to ignore the way in which the relentless forces of religious ambition and economic demand converged to create one of history's most harrowing epochs. The final frenzied phase of the transatlantic slave trade coincided with the rapid expansion of Islamic power, a convergence that generated a perfect storm of human tragedy. During this period, vivid and haunting images emerge of systematic raids that devastated Igbo towns and villages. These raids were not sporadic or isolated. They were part of an orchestrated system designed to capture and sell non-Muslim individuals to European slave traders before the trade was finally abolished. It is said, in recollections passed through generations, that slave raids occurred with such frequency that one could almost presume an attack was imminent on any given weekend. The terror of these raids, the desperate flight from familiar homesteads, and the sudden, brutal separation of families have left an indelible mark on the Igbo collective memory. These raids were not random acts of violence carried out haphazardly. They were the result of a carefully constructed system where the capture of non-Muslims was woven into the political and economic strategies of the time. The Igbo, celebrated for their communal solidarity and vibrant cultural expressions, were singled out time and again as the ideal targets for this deadly enterprise. Their decentralized nature and steadfast adherence to traditional ways made them particularly susceptible to raids orchestrated by those seeking to profit from human misery. As captives were systematically funneled through networks that stretched from the interior of Africa to European ships along the coast. The Igbo were reduced to mere commodities, the economic engines of both the Islamic intermediaries and the European traders were fueled by this constant stream of human beings. And in doing so, they dismantled the very fabric of Igbo society. Generations were uprooted, homes were abandoned, and the once flourishing cultural landscape of southeastern Nigeria bore the deep scars of exploitation and violence. Even as the world inched closer to the eventual end of the transatlantic slave trade, the horrors of these raids continued to echo through Igbo communities, a somber reminder of a past where the convergence of greed and religious ambition reshaped destiny. In the midst of these trials, the indomitable Igbo spirit found ways to shine through. Their innate resilience manifested not only in physical resistance, but also in the cultural narratives and beliefs that they nurtured over time. Many Igbo came to see themselves as more than victims of circumstance. They embraced a profound sense of identity that connected them to an ancient and mystic past. A particularly powerful thread in this cultural tapestry is the belief among some that the Igbo are descendants of the lost tribes of Israel, a notion that has given rise to the concept of the West, African Jews. This deep-seated belief, passed down through generations, quickly became a source of immense pride and identity. It provided a spiritual anchor in times of overwhelming adversity and reinforced a communal sense of destiny that transcended imposed labels. Figures like Olaudah Equiano stand as monumental testaments to this enduring spirit. His autobiography, published in 1789, provided one of the earliest and most compelling accounts of Igbo life, as well as the brutal realities of the Middle Passage. Equiano's narrative, filled with both sorrow and quiet defiance, affirmed the distinct cultural heritage of the Igbo, while chronicling the cruelty of a system designed to dehumanize. His story, and the powerful imagery it evoked, has endured as an emblem of both resistance and resilience. The Igbo not only fought to preserve their cultural practices amid the onslaught of slave raids and forced conversions, but they also maintained a vibrant memory of who they were, a people of great artistry, deep communal bonds, and intellectual brilliance. It is this rich mosaic of cultural memory, resistance, and belief in an ancient divine connection that continues to inspire, reinforcing the understanding that the Igbo narrative is not solely about pain and loss. Instead, it is a celebration of survival and an affirmation that identity persists even in the face of overwhelming odds. Looking back over these intertwined narratives, it becomes clear that the history of the Igbo people is inseparable from the story of Black America. Their profound legacy as a foundational contributor to Black American culture, coupled with the tragic impact of religiously driven slave raids, creates a story that is both deeply moving and urgently relevant. This journey through history reveals how forces of ambition, whether religious or economic, have shaped human lives in ways that continue to resonate in the present day. The Igbo narrative is one of courage, resilience, and enduring identity, a powerful reminder that even amid exploitation and trauma, the human spirit can shine through. The legacy of the Igbo is not merely a chapter in history, it is an ongoing story, written in the hearts and souls of those whose lives continue to echo their ancestors' spirit. Ultimately, as we reflect on the convergence of events, the accelerated expansion of Islamic power, the structured brutality of slave raids, and the unyielding determination of a people to preserve their identity, we witness a narrative marked by both tragedy and triumph. The Igbo, whose blood flows through the veins of Black America, remind us that history is not only a record of what has been lost, but also a celebration of what endures. Their story, marked by resistance against forces that sought to define and control them, stands as a testament to the strength of cultural identity and the enduring human capacity to rise, rebuild, and remember. In this legacy, the Igbo remain eternal, symbols of both the deep wounds of the past and the bright hope of a future, where the true story of their people is honored and shared for generations to come.
Memorandum to President Nixon, Henry Kissinger called the Igbos the wandering Jews of West Africa.
Even the Jewish rabbinate of the Obadiah Alliance officially recognized the Igbos as descendants of the ancient Israelites.
They also confirmed that these Israelites were well known by Jewish authorities in the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Lithuania, and Suriname.
The Obadiah Alliance confirmed that Igbo Israelite origins were well known during the Songhai Empire.
Before the slave trade even began.
From ancient Hebrews.
In a 1969 memorandum to President Nixon, Henry Kissinger called the Igbos the wandering Jews of West Africa.
Even the Jewish rabbinate of the Obadiah Alliance officially recognized the Igbos as descendants of the ancient Israelites.
They also confirmed that these Israelites were well known by Jewish authorities in the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Lithuania, and Suriname.
The Obadiah Alliance confirmed that Igbo Israelite origins were well known during the Songhai Empire.
Before the slave trade even began.
The Igbos carry the E1B1AY haplotype, same as most black men in the West Indies and North Central and South America.
Slave ship manifestos were full of this ancient Hebrew people.
Discover the truth. Read hidden facts about Black Americans before 16.
Directed by Anthony Haganobi, this documentary unfolds as a heartfelt tribute that honors legacies with authenticity and care. The film dedicates itself to celebrating the relentless spirit and creativity of Igbo heritage, whose cultural legacy remains a beacon of resilience. It also shines a light on Black America, whose journey through innovation, struggle, and ultimate triumph has indelibly shaped global culture. The narrative further embraces the timeless perseverance, wisdom, and captivating contributions of the Jewish community in advancing justice and storytelling traditions. In a special feature, hidden facts about Black America before 1619 emerge, as the film uncovers suppressed narratives and artfully honors untold histories. Produced by Nollywood Trend and Fullbreed Custom, this film is a mosaic woven from powerful voices fighting for truth and representation, all supported by families and communities, preserving stories long hidden, dedicated to those whose voices were silenced, yet whose enduring spirit continues to inspire future generations to carry the torch of justice and remembrance. Embracing profound shared history, this documentary inspires hope, unity, and lifelong learning.